Hey there, 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝘁𝗶 with another installment of Capital Markets Investor Relations in 2 minutes or less. In today's video, we're going to do a fun little topic, which is the idea of what do tariffs, the movie Reservoir Dogs, guidance, and investor relations all have in common. So let's get into it. And it starts with, tariffs and guidance are very touchy situations and topics for public company executives. It drives a lot of anxiety and can cause a lot of disruption to your day, because you're worried about what investors are going to ask, what they're going to think. Have I provided too much information? Am I providing non-public information? There's a lot of things to get you tripped up and drive anxiety. And so number two, what I want to talk about in the movie Reservoir Dogs is the specific scene where 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗃 and Tim Roth kind of walk through the jewelry heist and describe what it's like to be going through that process and how people are going to react. And I think what it does is it captures the essence of guidance anxiety. And then third and fourth, always remember, keep things simple and preserve the forecast optionality, and you're going to be successful in terms of this process of giving guidance. So let's jump into that scene from Reservoir Dogs where 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗃 and Tim Roth's character are sitting in the car outside the jewelry store, and they're walking through how the heist is going to go. And really, let's focus on 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗃's dialogue, where he describes what you do if the manager reacts in a certain way. In investor relations, the manager of the jewelry store is the CFO or the CEO or the investor relations person, and the robber in that jewelry store is the investor. And I say that because a lot of times executives step into these meetings, maybe it's a one-on-one meeting at a conference, maybe it's a conference call, maybe it's the earnings call. They go into these situations and there's a lot of concern or angst on what questions are going to be asked. And that's where walking through this scene and kind of describing the different violence and the different methods you use to obtain those jewels are similar to what investors might do in meetings with executives to obtain data or guidance that they want to obtain from that executive. And so let's get into this idea that scene conveys the essence of what I call guidance anxiety for executives. And it starts with this idea that investors are trained to get answers. These people have the best bullshit detectors of anyone you will ever meet in your life. You cannot fake them out. They will snuff out if you're giving them BS. And so that alone sets a certain expectation where you have to know your stuff and you have to be prepared to get tough answers. Number two, investors know how to escalate when you're not answering the question. They'll either ask you a similar question using different words or come at it from a different angle in order to get you to answer the question they want. And the other piece here is they know the answer to the question they're asking. So depending on the way you answer the question, you're also triggering additional issues. And then finally, investors in these meetings will sometimes get together as a group and attack with the same question 5 times in a row, and they will become relentless. And this is, to me, the essence of guidance anxiety, is that executives are worried that they're going to end up in one of these situations, say something that's wrong, say something that's non-public, and just cause a problem. And so how do you defend or protect against getting into this scenario? And it starts with this idea of, again, simplicity of message. The simpler your message is, the less likely you are to say something that's going to go off the rails and trip up non-public information or some sort of regulatory problem, or just avoiding being incorrect. And then secondly, preserving that forecast optionality and being generic and using wide ranges further protects you from backing yourself into a corner where you say something you don't want to say, you talk up numbers, or divulge something that you didn't mean to divulge. So in the end, always keep things simple and always preserve the optionality of your forecast if you want to avoid the essence of guidance anxiety. Thanks for watching.